Being mathematical about it is not my skill set.
Yeah.
So there are tons of things that if you watch me as a drummer, you go, he's terrible at that. Like worship songs, you know, whenever it's good, dun 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 dun.
So we are here today with Gareth Gilkeson. Did I get your name right?
That is exactly right.
And you are not just the drummer for Rend Collective, but also like in charge of the band. Is that right?
Well, yes, I used to be. Whenever we were all AWOL, Chris and I, now the singer, and I lead the band. But I started the movement that we came from going back 21 years ago.
Wow.
And then was the guy who was like, hey, everybody, we should start a band.
I love it.
So it's had a little...
It used to be called the Rend Collective Experiment.
It did, and you can imagine with an Irish accent. It was going to be called our Rend Collective Experiment, but it's spelt arse, and it didn't feel like that's what we needed.
That's great. I love it. So we're here today in, not Toronto, which usually that's where I find myself.
Yep.
At these events. We're in Hamilton. We're at Redeemer University. Mm-hmm. And are you guys on a tour? Is this a one-stop? I know the answer, but just for those kind of like catching up to speed with you guys.
We're on a 9-week tour at the minute. So we've been doing mostly the US. We're on a campfire tour, so it's a little bit of a different tour, more unplugged, not all the razzmatazz. I mean, my drum kit's pretty broken down on this tour, which is fun. It's nice to do something different, not have to work so hard.
I love it. And the tour you're on, is it Campfire tour?
Yes. So we brought out a record in 2013. We recorded it on the beach. It was kind of like a one finger, in a sense, to where we felt worship was getting out of control.
Yeah.
Where it was about on stage, lights, performance, professionalism. And we were kind of like, yeah, but it's really about like community, intimacy, being able to hear the people beside you, connection. Those are the bigger things. So we went to a beach in Ireland. It was cold. Played around a fire, invited friends, recorded it. You know, there's seagulls on the track. There's dogs sniffing the microphones. I had one of my legs, the hair is never growing back because it got so singed when we were recording it. So, yeah.
That's wild. Well, we're excited for tonight. I know mostly drummers will be watching this, so we'll do a drum gear rundown in a different video. But let's talk some drums a bit. Like,
sure.
How long have you been drumming? Growing up in, was it Bangor, Ireland?
Yes, yep.
So growing up there, what was like your influence? Because I know North American, you know, we talk gospel drummers, all sorts of contexts. But for you, like, what were some of your inspirations? What led you to the drums as an instrument?
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't have a bigger pool of, like, there was no drum teachers or tutors in my town. So I remember just listening to, you know, I would be listening to U2, but probably, let's be honest, listening to Bon Jovi, or actually grew up, we weren't allowed to listen to real music. I had to listen to Christian music. So Petra, that drummer was unreal. You know, I remember just writing stuff down, or I would memorize a beat, like still didn't know how to write it down, would memorize a beat, but just go and practice it. It's that kind of world. Bon Jovi got into the house because we took the Petra tape and we wiped over it with a Bon Jovi, living on a prayer. so then, you know, Tony was working on the docks and we were playing along. And then a friend of mine, his dad wanted to learn bass. He was my age now. I was 15.
Wow.
I was 13. My brother was 15. My brother played electric guitar. So the three of us started like a bedroom band and started playing. Then we played in church as well, you know, doing worship.
Sweet. I love it. So tonight, as we're going to capture some content, what are some cool moments that you think we should pay attention to? From a drummer's perspective, of course.
On some of the songs, I'm actually splitting instead of playing two sticks. There's a couple of the songs where I'm playing a shaker with the right hand and trying to still get quite a complicated beat with the left hand, you know, which is kind of fun and different. Trying to use the drum kit in a little bit more of an expressive way. I would never say I'm a technical drummer. Like a Germanic approach to drumming is my worst case scenario. Like being mathematical about it is not my skill set. Yeah. So there are tons of things that if you watch me as a drummer, you go, he's terrible at that. like worship songs, you know, whenever it's good, dun, 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 dun. That's just not for me. Like I grew up loving funk and grew up loving a vibe, and to me a vibe is really all that matters. The technicality side. The only technical stuff I like is if it feels really good, like if it's got like a groove or an essence to it or a soul to it. So that's kind of how I would approach drums. And so you'll see that tonight in certain songs, like Hallelujah Anyway, which we're going to play. That's just like a classic, you know, all the quarter notes on the snare, the kick drum in between, but it's just the feel of it and just those moments of explosion and just that solidness. I like that kind of drumming.
That's cool. And like with the boots and claps kind of a feel tonight, are you like sampling those? Is that like through multi-tracks in a live context? Because I know on the album you can hear that stuff ringing out.
Right, yes. So we have certain, like I've got an orchestral kick drum as well for those sorts of things. I have the trash hats, you know, which is fun. Which gives you that sort of element too, using like sleigh bells or jingles or that sort of stuff. Then on the kick drum, it'll just be on the track. So we've tried the sampling stuff and it's just too much hassle. So we'll have a perfect mix of that sort of like that stomp airiness, which we're still using a sample from 2012 in my wife and I's house, and we're all in there and we all stomped on the floor and had the mic near. That's still the sample because it's so good and it's so real. So we have that going on, and then I have a percussion instrument that I kind of resurrected called the Jingling Johnny, which you will maybe get to see, which is basically it's a percussion instrument on a stick, banging off the ground, hit the stuff. There you go. I love
it. Maybe you can show us that.
I will show you. Yes, it's weather worn at the minute. It's had a hard time.
So there's a segment that I like to do called 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
And it's 3 drummers that have inspired you through the years, 2 albums that have really impacted you, and then 1 scripture verse. I know I didn't give you a heads up before.
Oh no, that's no problem.
3, 2, 1. So 3 drummers, 2 records.
The question is, do I need to know the drummers' names?
No. You can describe their...
I'll tell you what band they were in.
Sure.
That's easy.
No, that works.
Yeah.
And then 1 scripture verse that kind of guides you through life and music, perhaps.
Love it. Well, what would explain my approach of not being like mathematical about drums? I don't spend my brain time thinking about specifics. So I could name you 2 movie stars. Like I don't know movie stars' names. I know Sandra Bullock because she's hot, and I know Ryan Gosling. There you go. There, we've done it. So in terms of drummers, bands that inspired me, Incubus was huge because it was the first sort of idea of funk. Like I love funk drumming. It was funk music with like new metal-y, but it wasn't quite. It was just always all over the place, and that was really fun for me. It was kind of realizing, because I love Latin. I love all the the bossa novas and all those sorts of like clave things and Afro-Cuban beats. Like that's because it's so like vibey.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a moment where I used that. So we had a new metal-ish band called Numinous with my brother, and we played, and they'd all be getting like the big guitars and I'd be sitting there doing like fancy wee jazzy moves. Another, I suppose, gosh, I really should know his name. Dave Matthews, drummer, help me out.
Carter Beauford.
Carter Beauford. Just all the hi-hat stuff. Obviously, the rest of the stuff was just like, well, that's not for me. Like, that's too much work, and I ain't got time to do that. I kind of felt pressure, actually, because I was in ministry as well, to really curtail the amount of pursuit of drums. Looking back on it, I think I probably would have said to my younger self, stop trying to be a super Christian. Like, you should just, like, you love this, you should spend more time pursuing this. But here we are, Christian and a drummer for a living. It was a great decision. Or maybe if I had practiced, I wouldn't be a Christian drummer.
Got you.
And then one more drummer. Well, I suppose let's go. It was early phases, but the Petra drummer, don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He had a Mickey Mouse drum skin on his drum kit. He inspired me to want to play drums. So he wouldn't have inspired me when I play drums, but the fact that it was just so awesome. Went to see them in Belfast, thought that was so cool.
Wow, awesome. So that's 3 drummers. Now, 2 records or albums that have really impacted you. I know you mentioned Petra, so you can count that as one if you want.
No. 2 albums. Well, interesting thing about my musical journey is that, so I did a music degree in composition. So composition's my main thing. Did production, songwriting. So that's actually those are the spots where I get really excited. So maybe a fact that a lot of people don't know is on the records I haven't played drums for 4 years, or for 4 or 5 albums, because I'm producing it. So I can't get into the headspace of knowing what the drum beat should be sitting in the studio playing the drums. So I sit and produce it. So it would be albums like Transatlanticism by Death Cab for Cutie. It's just so soulful. So like the drums are like quirky. I mean, the drums are quirky in Death Cab. Like they're interesting. They're not complicated, but they are quirky. I mean, what is that? This Is the New Year is the weirdest beat, isn't it? Like 5/4 or something. Dun, dun, I don't even remember what it is. So that was a huge album for me. Really, really inspirational. Kind of kicked off a lot of the soulful aspect that I would find chained up. So for songwriting, my songwriting went through the roof when I started listening to Death Cab. And another album, I'm trying to get you a really good one that I do justice for. Obviously, there's plenty of good albums. Things that I would get obsessed by. I think Morning View by Incubus.
Nice.
Drums were amazing. Now listening back to Incubus, I don't know about you, but that guy's voice is wild annoying. But I didn't notice at the time. Drums are amazing. On that guy, like he would be, if I could pick a drummer to be, that would sum up the kind of thing I'm into.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. And
one Bible verse. Psalm 37 verse 4, seek your happiness in God and He'll give you your heart's desires. Is kind of, I'd say, sums it up pretty well.
It's good.
Yeah, too many times we're trying to find happiness. Gosh, what even is happiness or joy, you know? But finding the contentment and in God and finding that space in nothing else needs to complete me right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really.
That's great. Last question that we'll have time for is if you could give or leave someone watching this with a word of advice, maybe they're a drummer, maybe they're not. Could be about music, could be about life. Maybe just something like a life lesson you've learned that has really impacted you that you think could help someone else. What would that piece of advice be? We're going a little deep here.
No, it's great. I mean, hesitancy is because, well, where do you want me to start? And how honest do you want me to be? I would say, from an Irish person, acknowledging feelings is a near impossible thing to do.
Wow.
So I would give advice to people that they should I've repressed, you know, my feelings for years, like for absolute years. I would suggest, and you know, I would encourage people that to feel something isn't bad. Like to feel sad is not a feeling you need to get rid of, or to feel angry isn't a feeling to get rid of. It's a feeling to acknowledge and sit in for a while. And giving yourself grace in that will actually really help your relationships, because then you can acknowledge other people's feelings without them feeling like a threat.
Yeah.
And I think in a band context, that's huge, because we're together with people all the time. And if I'm not allowing myself the space to feel, like today, you know, you arrived and I'm like, having a bit of a sad day, so I'm gonna have some chocolate. Like, I'm having a sad day, I would like to be at home with my family. Yeah. I'm not.
Fair.
But it's not like I'm having a sad day and now I need to like whatever, it's just that's what's happening today. So here we are, I acknowledge that, and then I have space. If I've given myself space to feel stuff, then you give, you know, someone in the band who's really grumpy, or you leave room for that, but you're like, that's how they're feeling today.
Yeah.
It's no reflection on me, it's no reflection on our relationship, or no reflection on their whatever worth as a person. It's just that's how they're feeling. Must suck to be feeling like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's nothing to do with drumming, but it is to do with, I think, interpersonal relationships in a band is a real tricky space to be in, so that helps.
Yeah, good word. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you bet.
And if people want to follow along with you or Rend Collective.
Well, I'm the most exciting, but Rend Collective is exciting too. Gareth Gilkeson is my Instagram handle. You're going to see a mix of this guy trying to do DIY. I'm building a house in Ireland at the minute. Me and my wife are working on that project. And a mix of that, music. I started teaching my son drums, so I might put some of that on it too. He's 7 and I'm not saying he's good at drums, he's good at anything. He's got a brain. He's got the mathematical brain that I never got, so I can't wait to see how good he gets. But yeah, you can follow me there, Rend Collective, obviously at Rend Collective. We're traveling all over the show, doing lots of stuff. If you want to know where we're playing a show, you want to come along, we would love to see you. Come and say hi.